What's up, cats and kittens? So let's just get right to this Q&A thing. Today we drove to Little Rock, Arkansas, which is about 100 miles away. We went and watched The Disaster Artist, the new James Franco movie about the infamous film The Room.
I did not hit her. I did not. This is bullshit. I did not hit her. Oh, hi, Mark.
I'd give it a solid B. It was pretty good. I've seen better films. I've seen far worse films. I thought James Franco's depiction of Tommy Wiseau was... Wiseau, I don't fucking know. And don't act like you know either. No one knows anything about the man.
I know it's Wiseau.
She knows it's Wiseau. Wiseau.
No, it's not. It's spelled E-A-U.
Okay.
That's O.
So she knows. But I thought it was pretty good. What did you think about it?
Same.
She thought it was pretty good as well. Saganist420 says, okay, question. Didn't you literally say a few videos ago in that other Q&A that you don't like coffee? Did you recently get hooked to it? I have a love-hate relationship with coffee. Because I would prefer a latte. I can't really describe what the difference is between like espresso-based drinks and coffee-based drinks, but I'm realizing that coffee drinks energize me much quicker than lattes do, and it's far fucking cheaper. My mom recently gave me her old coffee pot, which is a really nice coffee pot, so I think my days of latte drinking might be coming to an end. I think I'm going to be a coffee guy now for a while. Rebecca's sister Austin asks, how does it feel to not have to go buy a coffee every time you want to have some? Winky face. Also, I don't know what your guys' Christmas plans are, but I know Becca was concerned about getting home. If you guys make your way here, you can stay with us as long as you want, and she can ride home with me for Christmas. I'll be home only 2 to 3 days, so you guys can get back to your trip ASAP. That's very sweet of you, Austin. I imagine what the plan is for right now is I'm just gonna take her back to Pittsburgh for Christmas and then go back home. That's probably gonna be about the cutoff date for this first initial trip. But who knows? We might be able to, because we're gonna be driving south to north, so theoretically speaking, we probably could stop where you are on the way. Jason Moore asks, would you ever consider becoming a paparazzi, a fashion photographer, or anything to do with the world of celebrity photography? Basically, if you could become the next Annie Leibovitz, or Dave LaChapelle, or Floria Sigismondi, etc., would you? Or do you prefer the more intimate, eclectic, scenic, architectural, etc.? Could you shout out my little sister Dizzy Borden on Instagram? Thanks. This is me shouting out Dizzy Borden.
How heartfelt.
You know what? Why don't you just grab a fucking chair?
They don't want to shout out for me.
If you're gonna sit here and critique me.
I'm not critiquing.
Anyway, believe it or not, I've done a lot of fashion photography. Back when I lived in Fairfield, that was kind of my career. I worked for a bunch of different companies. You've probably seen some of the international campaigns that I've been a part of, which is kind of strange. It's not really my thing, but I like that I can do it, you know. I'm definitely more into the artistic portraiture and landscapes and architectural photography, stuff like that. I can't ever see myself becoming a paparazzi because I think they're the fucking scum of the earth. They give all other photographers a bad name, and I just think what they do is really shallow and lame. I can't imagine ever sitting outside of Kanye West's house at 5 in the morning hoping that someone takes out their trash so I can dig through it and take a photo of what brand of toilet paper Kanye West wipes his ass with. Don't really give a shit. I can't really see that in like, you know, my crystal ball. Okay, let me try that again. Zanza73 asks, Cody, what would be your ideal product from this trip? Do you have an expectation, or are you just taking it one day at a time? I kind of take my entire life one day at a time because it gets way too goddamn overwhelming otherwise. For me, personally, I'm not really hoping to get anything out of this, philosophically speaking or otherwise. I'm kind of just doing it because I enjoy it, and it seems like you guys kind of dig it too, and that's fun. It's kind of like you guys get to experience the adventure with me. I constantly have a camera on all the time, and when I do stuff like this, it's the only time where there's no level of weirdness about it. Like, if I'm just filming my everyday life, there's always like a certain modicum of, this is kind of weird to do this, you know. Sometimes I'll take my camera out to the bar or something, or just to an event, and, you know, we always have a good time with it, but there's always that weird, like, should I be doing this vibe? You know, am I being a spectator? Like, I struggle with that specifically. Is how much of my life am I really a part of, and how much of it am I just sitting witness to? It's something that I struggle with all the fucking time. Because one thing that really bothers me is when people that I'm close to refer to me as a photographer. Even though that's what I am. That's what I do. It's what I do for fun. It's what I do for my profession. You know, it's my whole life, more or less. But still, when someone that I'm close to refers to me as that first over any other thing that I think should be in that place, it bothers me. I don't know why it shouldn't, but it really does.
What else would go in that place other than Cody?
There's a million. It depends on the person.
To an average person.
It depends on the person. That's why I'm specifying, like, it doesn't bother me when someone I don't care about refers to me as a photographer. But if someone in my family or somebody that I care about or someone that I'm close to...
you don't want to be known for your talents?
I don't want that to be the defining characteristic to those that I'm close to. Red Blue asks, if you could talk to the person you were 5 years ago, what would you tell them or do to them? What wisdom would you give someone with a similar mindset who is 5 years younger than you? What's your opinion on the passage of time and a person's perception of it? Well, if that isn't a loaded fucking question. You know, every few years, I'll do a Q&A and someone will ask that question. Like, if you could go back in time and talk to the younger version of yourself, what would you tell them? And the truth is, I wouldn't fucking say anything. I wouldn't tell them a goddamn thing. And I know that sounds like a cop-out, and maybe it is, because I haven't figured anything out yet that I hadn't figured out then. But the truth is that if me from 5 years from now were to come back and give me some information, I wouldn't fucking listen to it. I'd be like, go fuck yourself. I'm gonna make my own mistakes, and that's just the way that it is. I don't think it would be beneficial to remove myself from bad situations that I have not yet experienced. Because ultimately those things make you who you are. I could save myself a lot of agony if I could go back and be like, look, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. But every time I put myself in a situation that either makes me uncomfortable or even more so a situation that I regret, I come out of it as either more enlightened or maybe just a more well-adjusted person. I understand myself better in times of stress. When everything is okay, you aren't put to the test. Your feet aren't held to the fire at all. It's how you react to things that hurt you that show the true merit of your character. And I wouldn't want to rob myself of that. So, as far as my opinion on like a human's perception of time, I find it interesting. Kind of just like even today. The trip to Little Rock felt like it took 10 goddamn years. Like, it felt like we were on the road forever. The ride back felt like, you know, a couple songs and we were home. And they say that's because when you're looking forward to something, I was looking forward to going to the movie, that time passes slower getting to the thing. But after you've experienced it and you're just heading back, you have nothing that you're really looking forward to, so the time kind of just goes right by. I find it interesting that depending on what you're looking forward to, your perception of time can warp. It's all messed up. Time isn't a real thing. It's a human construct. CJJHTTF asks, what sparked your interest in electronic music? Do you prefer making music on your own or being in a band? Have I ever considered producing or mixing records for other bands and artists? I'm going to answer that in reverse. I would not consider mixing for other people because I don't think I'm very good at it. Especially because some of my best friends in life are super fucking talented at production. I'm an astronaut, I'm looking at you. Every time I hear something that guy produces, it makes me never want to touch it again because it's flawless. And not only is it flawless, but it's so specified. Like the moment I hear an I'm an Astronaut song, or it doesn't even have to be his song, just something that he produced, I know that his fingers were in the recording. I can hear it. I don't think that that's true for me. I'm more of a melody maker. I like creating melodies and seeing what I can do. It's not really something I think I could take to the next level and help other people achieve, their dreams. Unless their dreams happen to be specifically geared toward the kind of stuff that I do. Like if someone wanted to make an album that had Ren style music with their own vocals, I think I could do that. But I wouldn't feel comfortable just starting from scratch and like trying to produce a screamo record or something like that, because it's just not in my wheelhouse. Like I know what I'm good at, I know what I'm not good at, and in some ways it's kind of like constricting because you tend to get in these patterns and you don't. With music especially, I don't ever deviate from my patterns. Like what I'm good at, that's what I do, and what I'm not good at, where my blind spots are, I don't even fuck with it. Okay, so there was that answer. The next one was, do you prefer making music on your own or being in a band? And I am kind of a musical dictator. Every band that I've ever been in, I was kind of the brains behind the operation. Like when it came to the way a song was arranged, how the lyrics were written. I remember I used to sit down with singers of my bands, and I have no vocal talents at all, but I'd be like, okay, you're hitting this part correctly, but this part, it needs to be more like, there needs to be some oomph there, some da-da-da, da-da-da, and I'd be sitting there with them like, this is not my job. If this same person were to be telling me how to play my drum parts, I'd tell them to go fuck themselves. And yet here I am telling them how to do their job. I don't think I'm a good person to be in a band with. I tend to work better on my own. And also, it's really fucking difficult to find a group of people that all want the same thing that you do. I would love to have a group of people that I just jammed with that didn't really care to take it to the next level, because I have no desire to be that anymore. If I could just find some people that wanted to jam and hang out and write music, that'd be great. But it's so fucking hard, because either people want to play cover songs, which I have absolutely no interest in, or if they do want to write songs, then they want to make records. And if they want to make records, they want to tour on those records. And if they want to tour on those records, they want their whole lives to revolve around this band. And I just don't have the fucking energy or passion for it anymore. The way that I see it is I'll probably just make Ren music, and that's probably about it. I can't imagine myself doing much more than that at this juncture in my life. Maybe though, never say never, or whatever. What sparked my interest in electronic music? I used to fucking hate electronic music, believe it or not. I really did. I thought it was like an affront to everything I'd ever learned as a musician, that someone could just sit at a computer and compose songs. Like, it was such a fucking disgusting thing to me. But then I heard 9 Inch Nails' record With Teeth. They were the one electronic band that I could get down on, because there was still real instrumentation going on. With Teeth is a real deviation for Trent Reznor, in that the record sounds way more electronic than anything else. And I fucking fell in love with it. I just thought it was brilliant. To this day, it's one of my favorite electronic-based records ever created. I think every song on it is just wonderful. It kind of turned the gears a little bit. And then I found bands like Mum and Fortet and Dizzy Blonde and Bonobo. or is it Bonobo? I don't know. But by then I had dived completely in, and I was like, I wonder if I could do this. And I had a little MIDI keyboard, and I just started making shit. And all these years later, all the other music stuff that I used to do has kind of fallen to the wayside, and it's been replaced really by just Ren. Musically, that's pretty much all I do anymore. OSSX Hollow asks, what is it that made you stop wanting to make the ranty political videos that you used to? A whole bunch of things, really. It's one of like Rebecca's big complaints of me, how I am much different on camera than I am off camera. It used to be way fucking worse than that. It got to a point where the second I turned a camera on, it was like I wasn't being me at all. Like nowadays I feel like you're listening to me, it's just me cranked up. I've gotten back to that, which was a long process in and of itself. But there was a time in between 2011 2012 where I really felt like I wasn't even being myself. I wasn't even saying opinions that I necessarily agreed with. I would just find videos where the person pissed me off, and I would find a way to argue their position, even if I didn't hold those beliefs dear. It was more just like attacking the person. And you can't even do that on YouTube anymore anyway. Like what really gained my audience here was like the classic ponage videos where you'd find some idiot and just eviscerate them. I got really fucking good at that. But you can't do that anymore because now it's labeled bullying and you'll get your account removed. Unless you're iDubbbz. He's the only one that can do it and get away with it, I guess. He does it very well. He does it much better than I ever did. It's not me criticizing him. I just don't know how he gets away with it. So, and beyond that, like, beyond the selfish stuff, there is a shelf life for political videos. And that shelf life is whenever that news story dies, the video that you just poured your heart into becomes completely irrelevant and no one's ever going to watch it again. I like there to have some staying power. I really like the stuff I've done over the last couple years because it feels a little more timeless to me in that I know in 2 or 3 years I can go back and watch it and it's not going to be like, oh shit, I remember when that was relevant. Like that might be true with like, you know, certain people or experiences. They won't be relevant to me anymore, but someone new could watch the video and get the same thing out of it that they can get out of it now. And I find that much more fun. EMP Studios asks, whatever happened with using the new channel? Not that it really matters, just thought you were starting fresh on a vaguely ominous page. It kind of just...
It got you there.
It kind of just boils down to laziness, ultimately. It's easier to upload to this channel when all my stuff is already logged in here. I don't know why other than that. Like I really, even now, I still want a new channel. I still feel like this one is broken beyond all recognition. It's just hard. You know, when you've used a channel as long as I've used this, like I started this channel in 2007, I think. So going on over a decade now of using this channel, it's hard to just start over, you know? I don't know. Maybe it boils down to habit and laziness, and maybe it's a fear of starting completely over. I don't know what it is. But every time I make a new video, I have the intention to upload it to the new channel, and I just don't do it. Brad Spencer asks, on the night of your funding, me and many others watched live, but will you or will you not, and how soon will you be coming through Utah and Arizona? Well, it's certainly not going to be on this branch. You know, we'll probably end up doing another fundraiser when we run out of funds here, depending on how much you guys like this content, and I'll try to do another part of the world. I decided to go south as opposed to east, simply because the weather's better here and my car isn't great. I don't trust it in the snow as much. I'd like to go to the desert next. I'd really like to check out Slab City and you know, the old gold rush towns, but it's just not feasible on this trip. But hopefully soon. I do think that that is one of the more beautiful parts of the country. I mean, every part of this country has beautiful stuff. Like, I don't want to make it seem like it doesn't. But I have a particular interest in the desert. When I was a kid, I have a skin condition, eczema. And the doctors always told my parents that they should really consider moving to the desert because the air is so dry there that it would be good for my skin. And my family never left, obviously, and I continue to deal with it even to this day. It's not as bad as it was when I was a kid. When I was a kid, it was fucking everywhere. Like, my neck was covered in it, my arms were covered in it, my legs were covered in it. Even my fucking ass cheeks were covered in it. It was awful. I used to wake up and have to, like, peel the blankets off of me. Like, literally peel them off because they grafted onto the fucking blanket while I slept. It's not that bad now. Now I just get flare-ups in, like, my arms. You might, like, sometimes people point it out when they're watching a video and they'll be like, hey, you got fucking track marks on your arms. Like, no, I fucking don't. I have eczema, actually. But I've always wondered how true that statement was, and if I went to the desert, if it would, like, magically clear up. Because I've never had a day in my life where I was not itchy. I'm itchy right now. I constantly feel the need to itch. I don't know of an existence where I'm not itchy. And I would love to feel that. You know, if only for a short period of time. I'd love to know what it felt like to not be constantly fucking itchy. So, you know, to wrap back around to your question, hopefully soon. Rebecca!
What?
Do you want to come answer the questions for you?
There's only one question.
There's two.
What's the other one?
The first one was... The first one was, how often do you hit Cody?
That's a stupid question.
And the second one is, what is your favorite and least favorite thing about traveling?
Do I have to?
Not if you don't want to. Don't light it. Don't light it.
Why?
Because the fan's not on. You gotta smoke underneath the...
It's right there!